What's up, fiends? Alucard here, and I'm here for my top 10 martial arts mayhem. So let's get right to it, shall we? Number 10, I have Hero from 2002. This one stars Jet Li, Tony Leung, Donnie Yen, Maggie Chung, and Zhang Zi. This one's about a nameless official who ends up killing three high powered assassins. So he gets summoned for an audience with the king to tell his tale. Of course, it's Jet Li is the main guy, and yeah, this movie is just beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's action packed. The fight scenes are great. Anytime you get Jet Li versus Donnie Yen, I'm all there for it. All right, so just to warn you, a lot of my picks are kind of nostalgia based, so they're not really like, oh, it's such a great kung fu movie or great martial arts movie. No, it's more like I just love this movie, despite maybe not so good martial arts, I guess. And that includes number 9, The Karate Kid, Part 2. From 1986, of course, the stars Ralph Macchio, Pat Morita, Tamlin Tomita, and Yuji Okamoto. So this is, of course, Daniel and Mr. Miyagi traveling to Okinawa uh, as Miyagi's father is dying. So Daniel learns more of the history of karate and stuff through his family. It's easily my favorite Karate Kid movie, and I watched this ad nauseum as a kid, so it had to be in my top 10. Number 8, I have Iron Monkey from 1993. It stars Donnie Yen. I had to put Donnie Yen in here a couple of times. Yu Wrong Wei, aka Ringo Yu. This one's sort of the Hong Kong version of Robin Hood, as a masked bandit teams up with a physician to battle a traitorous Shaolin monk who's now kind of in charge of a corrupt government. When I saw this in, what year was it, 2001 or something is when it was released in the States. Um, it had a big theatrical presentation, Quentin Tarantino presents and all this stuff. I was like, oh, what is this craziness? So we went and saw it, and the kung fu action in this movie is so awesome. The ending fight scene with them on the wooden boards is like, it's just freaking mind blowing. Coming up at number 7, I have The Best of the Best from 1989. This is sort of one of those tournament movies. I love karate tournament movies. I don't know why, but they're my jam. Anyway, this one stars the Ree brothers, Philip and Simon, Eric Roberts, Chris Penn, James Earl Jones, Sally Kirkland, and it's about the U.S. karate team uh, taking on the evil, infamous Korean karate team in a big taekwondo tournament. Um, and of course, all the U.S. guys. They at first they kind of, they're all weird and they kind of don't get along, and it's about all that stuff too, and family, and all of that. But again, this was my introduction to the Ree brothers. I have since gone back and watched some of their other stuff. Uh, but yeah, really great movie. It's kind of one of those sappy 80s movies, but with a karate tournament twist. At number 6, I have The Last Dragon from 1985. This one, of course, stars Timac Vanity, Julius Carey as Shonuff, the Shogun of Harlem, and little, like 10-year-old Ernie Reyes Jr. Yep, he was a badass even then. This, of course, is the story of Leroy Green as he searches for a master to obtain the highest level of martial arts, known as the Glow. This one is just fun. Uh, the, this movie's kind of all about the bad guy, Shonuff, and he's just awesome. He's like the most black exploitation type of uh, villain ever, and it's just he's so freaking great. One of the best characters ever put on film, no question. At number 5, I have Bloodsport with Jean-Claude Van Damme, Bolo Young, Donald Gibb, Leah Aries, all kind of people in it. From 1988, and of course, it is the true story of Frank Dukes going AWOL from the army and entering the deadly Kumite tournament. Again, another tournament movie. Like I said, I'm a sucker for these. But this was my I don't remember if this was my introduction to Van Damme. It could have been Kickboxer. It was one of the two. I don't remember which one I saw first when I was a kid. Um, but this is, I think, fairly easily my favorite Van Damme movie. This movie has some of the best fight scenes, tournament fight scenes you'll ever see. And Bolo Young, uh, as the bad guy, is just he's just menacing, and he plays it perfectly. So when they finally meet at the end, it's like, yeah. All right, number four, I have House of Flying Daggers from 2004. This one takes place during the Tang Dynasty, as two like police officer type people are tasked with investigating a blind dancer at this club, and she's rumored to be working with the rebel group House of the Flying Daggers. Now this one's a little different. This one has some dance sequences that are artsy, and yeah, but it's probably the most visually appealing movie um, in the martial arts world that I've seen. That and Hero, like I said earlier. But Zhang Zi puts on a hell of a performance here. I almost chose Crouching Tiger, but I'm like, everybody's going to choose Crouching Tiger. So I went with House of Flying Daggers, which is just as good. And again, the martial arts in it is just fantastic. And like Zhang Zi, uh, just love her. Number three, I have Kill Bill Volume 1. Uh, this was the movie that kind of reignited my love for martial arts movies. Um, and it's Uma Thurman, of all people. Yeah, so like just the fight scenes are just so freaking good in this movie. Of course, Tarantino was inspired by many martial arts movies, especially in this movie. And the sword fighting, her against Gogo, uh, just just all of it. The last like 20 something minutes of it in that house fight, that gigantic fight is just brilliant. All right, and my top two. These are definitely my top two, by the way. Like no question, these are the top two martial arts movies I've ever seen in my life, and that will probably never change. Number two, I have Fist of Legend from 1994, starring the one and only Jet Li. This one's sort of a remake of Fist of Fury, the Bruce Lee movie. It's about a Chinese martial artist, Chen Zhen, and he returns to Shanghai to find his master has been killed, and the school is now being harassed by Japanese. This, along with my number one, has probably some of the best fight scenes I've ever seen in my life. Jet Li is perfect in this movie, and yeah, I do like this better than Fist of Fury. It's a little more well told, and the fight scenes are way better. Now, that being said, my number one does include Bruce Lee, and no, it's not the one you're thinking of. My number one is The Way of the Dragon, Bruce Lee versus Chuck Norris. There is nothing better than that, people. Come on. So, if you haven't seen it, this story is about Tang Lung as he goes to Rome to visit relatives that run a restaurant in Italy. However, the restaurant is being harassed to sell their property to a crime syndicate. So, of course, Tang Lung comes to help out and take care of the bad guys. Now, this movie was directed by the one and only Bruce Lee. This is his only fully directed movie that is available because he died, not too long after. Um, but this thing is magnificent. The acting's great. It's kind of cheesy and hammy sometimes, but it totally works with this story. You have to have some levity in it. And there's a couple, there's one character in particular, he's just silly, but it fits. It really does. And everything culminates in the big fight between Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris at the end in the Colosseum of Rome. How freaking cool is that? And the fight is magnificent. It is, without a doubt, my favorite fight scene ever put on film. So I had to put this at number one, no question. I mean, who doesn't? Again, Bruce Lee versus Chuck Norris. There can be no other choice for number one. So anyway, I'd like to thank Gareth from Video Tasties uh, for doing this and having me be a part of it. So thanks so much, my friend. Till next time, adios, Bella Lugosi.